Am I supposed to be able to hear anything?
No.
You don't need that.
Oh.
I'll just amuse myself for a little while.
Please. Sammy J and Randy are the award-winning comedy duo that have appeared in festivals across the world, as well as on Good News Week and Spicks and Specks, combining musical comedy with bald-headed purple mannery. In the studio today, we have Sammy J. Hello and welcome.
Hello there, and thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming.
Now, am I the purple-headed bald man, or am I the Sammy J?
Well, the benefit of radio is you can be either and not both.
Both sounds a little lewd. I think I'll just be Sammy J today.
But it's been a busy year for you, which recently sort of culminated in hosting the comedy gala.
Yes.
What's it like moving from performing in the gala to being the ringmaster?
Well, it was only literally a couple of days ago, so I'm still sort of just breathing out now. But it was great fun. It was actually, in a weird old way, less pressure than it has been doing little spots in the past, because when you're hosting, you get to come out again and again and again, and so you sort of feel like even if they hate you at the start, you'll win them over by the end. Whereas in the past, I remember my first time doing it, I was doing a little song on my own 3 years ago, and I was just terrified because you thought, man, if this goes wrong, then a whole lot of people are going to hate me, or at least dislike me, or not see my show.
No, you persevere until they laugh, and if they don't, they'll pity laugh, and
Yeah.
that's just as good.
Never discount a pity laugh. So, see, I got one there from Maddie.
There we go.
It was a nice one.
It's balanced.
Now, you're one of the many Australian comedians who gave up law to pursue comedy. Why?
Well, it's I like to sort of put out the myth that I was a successful law student who turned my back on it, to pursue comedy. The reality is that I never really should have done law in the first place. I was pretty poor at it. I distracted everyone in the class by telling jokes. And one of the primary reasons I picked law was that I was a huge fan of Sean McAuliffe and DGen and all these people you refer to. So I'm not really part of the tradition. I was more observing the tradition. And so I can't really put myself in that list. But, over time, there's sort of, I think people, you say it out loud enough, and a lot of people think I finished my law degree, like most of those guys who did, and many of whom practiced, like Sean McAuliffe. But no, I can't claim that. I lasted 2.5 years through a 5-year degree, battling by on 51%.
I would love to think that there is one person listening at home going, I want to be a famous comedian, that's it, I'm going to work hard and get into law at Melbourne Uni so that, I can host the gala at some point.
Well, they would be carrying on the fine tradition started by myself, because, yes, it was literally that. I knew that all these people had done it, and the law reviews were a huge attraction to me, this sketch comedy idea that went back to, to Monty Python and this, and I just got a better score than I was expecting to at the end of school, and I was basically showing off, and there was no good reason for me to do it. And all my friends from the law school who are now earning far more than me and are in very high-flying legal jobs.
But how many of them get to hang out with a puppet?
Well, depends what you think of judges in this bloody legal system, eh? But no, I have no regrets. It's certainly a great fun job.
In 2006 at the Comedy Festival, you debuted with Sammy J 55-minute national tour, and it proved quite a successful show. How was that for a debut show?
Well, it was. I remember I was in a room, a basement down Duckboard Place, just off Little Flinders Lane, and it held 45 people, and that was very daunting. But it started to sell out, and that was nice. And when you 45 seats, you sort of. It's all very much friends and family supporting you for the first 2 weeks. Then after that, you're on your own. And that was the most exciting thing. So when suddenly a few faces were in the audience who I didn't recognise. And and then it won a little award, which was cool. And it was the first full hour show I'd done, which, when you start off just doing 5-minute spots all over town and stuff. And so to do a full hour, you're really terrified that you'll just run dry at like 38 minutes. And, I'd never spoken out loud for a whole hour, let alone sung songs and stuff. But that was cool because I was sort of trying. I had a few video segments in it, and there was a storyline, which was the first time I tried something like that. So I think it sort of, pitched my. I was going to say pitched my tent. That sounds. Is that what you put your flagpole? What is it?
You're the most experienced one here. You can come up with whatever you like.
Okay, I got an erection.
Great.
I know the feeling.
Yes. So I should hope so. How old are you, sir? So anyway, no, it was fun, and I felt like I'd actually finally found what it was that I was, if not good at, what I wanted to do as far as comedy. Because you sort of have to, find your area. Otherwise, you should just leave, really.
So you've had a successful show, and you've attached to musical comedy. That's sort of your niche, but it's a broad niche. How did you find a particular style or particular variation that worked for you?
I think the music is a huge part of my act. Like, I've always done music, but it's always been because I like comedy. You know, like I was a huge comedy fan at school, and then I got into songs because I liked Tripod and Tom Lehrer and all these old school, you know. And so it was never like I was musical, and then so that was a natural thing. I was really shit at piano when I was 18 years old. That's when I started playing, and I was self-taught, so it was quite late that I brought to it. But yeah, I started with the music, and I just like music because it's fun. You know, you can set a mood really quickly, and then from there, I think everyone just starts when they're doing comedy. You start off with a little bit of originality and a whole lot of plagiarism and trying to copy who you think is funny and stuff. And I think I probably only started making people genuinely laugh or genuinely interested in me when I started doing stuff that I found funny, irrespective of what the audience were thinking. And that means you have some really bad gigs along the way, you know. But there's a really great feeling of doing a routine that you're really proud of, even if the whole crowd are dead, because you know, you can walk off and go, well, you know, I found it amusing and I didn't prostitute myself much.
Wow. And when you're getting started, because you weren't born Sammy J, just as a spoiler alert to anyone out there who's going, yes,
I shall call him Sammy J.
Was the name part of kind of a persona behind it? Because you are the same person. It's not an act that you're putting on, but some people sort of develop into this person that they want to be, and the name goes along with that. It's
a weird thing. But Sammy J is I mean, my name is Sam Jonathan McMillan, so it's a nickname from my name. And so, like you said, it's not really an alter ego as such. However, since I've started working with Heath McIver, or Randy, the purple puppet we have mentioned, you know, Sammy J and Randy are very sort of different things, so we really do go into our own world and have our own sort of characters, whereas Sammy J on my own, in my solo shows now, I'm much more like, I'll talk about my wife and I'll talk about real life stuff, and so I've sort of split into two, really, where Sammy J is both more real and far more fictional in his two different ways, and he apparently refers to himself in third person in an interview as well, so maybe there's three Sammy J's there. It's but you know, it's I just think, I always thought it was funny because it was easy to remember when you're starting out. It's like a bit of a dickheady sort of name, and so people shouldn't forget it in a hurry.
Well, we've had Alistair Tremblay-Birchall on the show before. Whoa. And yeah.
Now there's a name. There's
no one's successfully Googling that one. That's not happening.
Australia's
Except maybe Alistair himself, you know, I'm sure he's plugged it in.
But how did the collaboration then begin with Heath?
It was specifically at a comedy night on Smith Street in Collingwood in 2005. I'm like the Rain Man. I can remember that. It's September 2005. I know this because I've got a video of the night someone gave to me, and Randy was emceeing the night. It was The Wrong Night, which was a cool little comedy night, sort of with an emphasis on filthy material and stuff. And Randy was emceeing, and I was one of the guests. And so Randy introduced me onto the stage, and I'd never seen him before. I'd been watching him in the back of the room, just thought he was hilarious, just funnier than the other comics on the bill. You know, Randy is just a brilliant stand-up in his own right, despite the fact, let alone the fact he's a puppet. And so yeah, I did my gear, and then I sort of thanked Randy at the end. So I actually met Randy before I met Heath. You know, and then after the show, I just went and said hi, and then we dug each other's gear, as it were. And maybe 9 months later, I was doing some late night shows at the Butterfly Club, and asked Randy whether he'd like to come and pop up and join. And we started doing that. So we really didn't know each other that well. All we just knew we liked each other's senses of humour, and that was the starting point. And it has somewhat blossomed since then, because we still like each other's senses of humour. We just know each other a lot more and spend most nights of the year together in various hotels and so on.
That's for another show.
Yes.
It really does sound like a romantic story. You remember the time, you remember the place.
Well, we don't have sex. I mean, that's silly.
No, he doesn't have a bottom half.
No.
Anyway, but you have two elements. You have the musical element, and you have the puppet on stage as well when you're doing Sammy J and Randy. That's two elements which can diffuse any aggression in the audience. Do you find that the audience responds to things differently because you've incorporated music? They're a bit more into the particular gag, whereas someone doing straight stand-up, they can meet a brick wall of an audience, whereas you've got a bit of noise, a bit of colour. Does that help?
It's a very interesting. Is that a very polite way of asking whether we're using gimmicks constantly? No, I think you're spot on. Like, it's we don't really have to deal with hecklers much, but I think it's also probably to do with the tone you're setting, because our tone with Sammy J and Randy's incredibly stupid and silly. And so anyone who wants to jump on board and yell out, we'll just roll with that. And anyone who was aggressive you sort of, the old trick is just to let someone be aggressive for long enough that the whole crowd hates them, and then when you turn on them, everyone's supporting you,
Yeah.
But because our live shows, there's storylines, and so there's a full story there, and there's not a really... You have to be quick if you want to heckle, because we're doing the script and we've got songs coming out, and as you say, puppets jumping out. And to a similar extent with my solo stuff as well, I do tend to tell stories. I'm not really a gag man or anything. So normally, if you interrupt just a story when everyone's listening to it, then you look like a dick. But yeah, no, it's an interesting... Well, you do think about that because you've got those different elements, and it's not for... Equally, you have someone come along who does just want a night of jokes, just simple jokes. They won't have to, follow a narrative or anything, and they might become furious, but they should have read the blurb, We didn't force them to come. We're catering for a very specific market.
Is that a polite way of saying that people who don't like your comedy are really stupid because they can't keep up?
Oh, no, not at all. No. No, I think... I have to go back and check the tape now. I think I said there are some people who want to come along, enjoy jokes, and not follow a narrative. I think that's a very legitimate...
No, well done. Good Rain Man. Yeah, you Rain Man that one.
In fact, that's what I would want to do. I love watching a stand-up. Just, I went and saw Tom Gleeson in Adelaide, who is just hilarious stuff for a whole hour. And like I said, if you're a bit drunk or something, you don't have to sort of remember something 20 minutes later. Whereas in our shows, there's like we try and put little stupid clues in the storyline, all that sort of stuff. And so yeah, different horses for courses.
And when you were starting out with...
Can't believe it. Sorry, I did just use the expression horses for courses in an interview.
That's cool.
I just want to put that on the record. I'm not ashamed of it, not proud of it.
Raising the tone.
It happened.
When you did start collaborating with Randy, being how do I put this delicately, a non-threatening looking comedian.
Are you calling me an effeminate, weak, skinny blonde man?
I think the tape will show that you said that, not me.
Okay.
Doing, really up-tempo, cheery songs with a purple puppet, was it hard not to get labelled as kind of, not kids comedy, but kind of delicate comedy when people didn't know exactly what you were doing?
We've never found anything like we feel very lucky in terms of how people come into our shows, and there's been a nice little progression, so I would never ever say that anything's been hard. However, I am absolutely certain that people came to our shows probably expecting certain things. The first show Heath and I did was called The Forest of Dreams, which didn't even have Randy in it actually, but the opening song was called Fuck You Disney, and that was literally 7 seconds into the show. I stood up and said those words, and that was the one that it looked like a kid's fairy tale show. We didn't have much of a profile or anything, and people were bringing their kids and suddenly just got, covering their kids' ears and rushing them out. And these days,
paid.
Yeah, that was it. We got the money, but so these days we sort of, despite the fact, yeah, as you say, the posters they look like some reject kids hosts from the 90s, but people who see the shows, hopefully, again, our opening song in this year's Comedy Festival show, I think sets a record. Has the F word in it about, I think 27 times or something.
Good record.
Yeah, it's a pretty good one. And it's not we're not trying to offend or anything. It's just that we don't find swearing offensive, so we use it just as we do when we're with friends and everything. It's, if we're trying to be offensive, that would be a different sort of style. But so we appreciate that some people won't like that and don't want to come. And again, horses for courses, baby.
That's going to be your Facebook tag for all the photos now. But the Melbourne Comedy Festival, it's been fairly kind to you. I mean, you're a Barry Award winner, and what can audiences expect from this year's show?
This is the one where we've really let the team down. After all the success, women, fast cars, we've just gone, nah, let's just pull out a piece of crap and see how many people come along. That was what I just said was the blurb that we wrote originally, because you have to write your blurbs for festivals like months in advance, normally before you've written the show.
Yeah.
And Heath and I were like, oh, that'd be funny. Let's just write a really, stupid blurb saying, don't come to this show. It's going to be terrible. But we thought that's jumping the gun. We still desperately need people to come. We're not that well known. We've had a nice amount of stuff happen. But so no. The truth is we worked on it over Christmas. It's called The Inheritance, and it's probably our most ambitious storyline. Randy's uncle dies in England, and so we travel to England to claim his inheritance, and that all happens in the first 7 minutes. So again, there's the F word song and then straight into it. And so it's got we're trying a few different things. Like there's another character, another puppet character in the show, which is a full body gnome who Heath operates, which is sort of pretty out there. And we're really happy with the songs. We've done it at the Adelaide Fringe for a month, so it's sort of got it to a place that we enjoy doing it. There's nothing better than turning up to a show and you're looking forward to doing it. It's like you going, getting into a nice car that you're looking forward to the drive, rather than some piece of crap that's been in the garage and needs an oil. I can't believe I started a car analogy. I do not know anything about cars. I just said the word oil and then trailed off. So people can expect whatever they want, but we shall give them what I just described.
We'll hold you to that. So basically, you've worked with Heath and Randy, and then you've done solo work as well, and then you've come back, and this year you're doing The Inheritance. Do you maintain a particular tone that only works for when you're working with Randy, or do you save particular material for when you're working with Randy and you're doing your solo stuff and you go, that's good gear, but it may not work as just Sammy J?
It sort of has become very natural, because Randy does his own shows as well, and particularly in Edinburgh, out of necessity, because it's so expensive to get over there. Last year we did 6 o'clock, Sammy J and Randy, 8:30 off doing our solo shows to try and make some money. And so it's sort of it's actually happened quite naturally now, where we write everything together when it's our own show. So it's just a very specific sort of, collaboration that happens. And it's just a whole different ballgame when you've got someone to interact with, and when you're bouncing off each other, and even songwriting, you're sort of writing different verses or different call responses. When I can't speak for Heath, but when I'm writing on my own, it's just a different headspace, because you've got more time for ideas to settle, because you're not sort of constantly discussing it, and there's a lot of that when you're collaborating with anyone. And I'll, as I said, I'll just naturally lean towards real world stuff, whereas Sammy and Randy are much just frivolous, silly stuff, and that's my favourite thing. It's awesome. But on my own, I'll just sort of have a moment to sort of think about things, and by definition, if I'm writing a solo song, then that's for my solo act, because Randy and I are very much on stage the whole time together. We rarely sort of split off. It's not really a sort of variety hour like that. So there's. It's not particularly hard to differentiate the two.
Yep.
That was a massively long and complex answer.
It was a massively long and complicated question,
Well,
really.
hey, high five.
Hey!
Look at us, all on the same wavelength.
So what's in the future? Is it more collaboration with Randy, or you're going to go for more solo shows, or maintain the course?
A little bit of both, we hope. Sammy J and Randy, that's our big focus. That's what we've... This is our third show together now in a row, and we normally would always alternate and do a solo and then another one, but we're trying not to be dicks about it, because people do like it at the moment, and that's quite rare, you don't get that chance, and so while there are people coming and interested and getting to do things like host the gala, we're trying to be sensible and not get all artistic and muck it up, and then so no, we'd love to do a TV show. That's what we've always wanted to sort of do, as far as like a sort of sitcom together or something like that, and that's what we're focused on when we're not doing, when we're not on stage. And equally, just keep on doing. I've got a little solo album that I've tinkered away at, and that'll be coming out in a couple of months.
Feel free to spruik.
Oh, well, I shall. It'll be it's called Skinny Man Modern World, and that's a bunch of those sort of songs I mentioned, which are more sort of slightly reflective and stuff, and they're from all my previous solo Edinburgh shows. So that'll be on iTunes and online and all that in a couple of months' time. But no, it's very much it's Jay and Randy all the way for now.
Yep.
And off to Edinburgh in August with this show, and clutching our little TV pitch document that we've put together. It's quite fun having one of those now. You talk about it for ages, and now we've actually got this little PDF, this stinky little document. We just wave in people's faces.
And then you can slowly change the things you swore never to change about the show when the TV producers go, no.
You have no idea. You have no idea.
We're looking at something... Let us have an idea. Provide an idea.
No, it's yes.
We're looking along the lines of how you guys are interacting on Good News World, that sort of two guys in an apartment, one just happens to be a puppet kind of thing. A bit sort of your Leno and Woodley kind of vibe.
Yeah, well, Leno and Woodley are a huge influence on us. We constantly refer to them when we're writing and stuff. Like, what would they do? And not like stealing, I'm just saying, as far as quality goes. And so there is. We always make a point of Randy's not a puppet in our shows or in the TV stuff. He's just another character, and so that's part of the joke, really. But
a few times you've dated the same woman.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Yes. Should we talk about this off air? I wasn't aware of this. No, indeed. We. But the specific question, which, if my brain serves me correctly, was regarding the specific area. Don't help me, because I just got sidetracked briefly by that allegation. But the point that we are reaching as we climb this conversational mountain is, will it be similar to Good News World? Yes. That was the question.
Excellent.
In our heads, Good News World was amazing. Like, they literally asked us to be involved in that show, and they said, you can have a set and you can do what you like. And we didn't believe them, and then they literally, that's what they did to us. So they, we started writing more and more stupid sketches, and they just kept providing stuff. We asked for a goat, and they gave us a goat. We asked for an explosion, or and we just got, so over the course of that series, it became more and more stupid, the stuff we did, and they just kept agreeing. So that was awesome to work with those guys. As far as our actual show that we have in our head, it's probably a little more real worldy, rather than studio and brightly lit and that sort of thing. But anything can change. You have to have someone who's interested first, and you go from there. So we are not above whoring ourselves.
Well, you're talking about being inspired by Leno and Woodley and sticking to the things that people love to see. So how did you get the idea to kind of do the 50-year show and invent kind of an entire new thing?
Well, specifically... No, I'm just doing very...
Not a great question?
No, it's a wonderful question. It's just delightful that you know anything about it. I'm not used to people knowing anything about what I've done, so it's nice so thank you. The 50-year show, and I also chuckled because Mark Watson, wonderful UK comedian, has previously done shows, the 24-hour shows, which I've been involved in. And when I had the idea of the 50-year show, which I maintain was genuinely unrelated, it was an original idea, but I actually called him and said, "Oh shit, I've got this idea for a 50-year show. Don't want you to think I'm stealing it from you and extend I see you 24 hours and raise you half a century." But no, I've just always had a mild obsession with time passing. I wrote diaries right through school, and I constantly go back to those, and I've written little notes to myself in the future, like, hey, if you're reading this when you're this age, and I found some when I have been that age and stuff, and so I've just I don't know what that is, but it was 5 years ago over in Edinburgh, and I had that idea for a show that could last for 50 years. I thought, what's something that could rise above the normal grind and the normal reviews and publicity and all the things that are the annoying sort of side of the industry that you stress about and worry about. And I thought, well, if you do a show for 50 years, then that'll last through wars and everything, And so I did that in 2008, and it was just this cool night. Like, I asked a lot of favours, and we had Frank Woodley and Adam Hills and all these great comedians, and quite a few comedians on the bill who have since gone on to become much bigger, like Charlie Pickering and stuff like that, which is really cool. And yeah, so it's just so that's how the idea came together. I simply thought, I thought of it, and I went, no, that's stupid. And then a week later, I thought, hang on, no, that's actually really cool. And you have to stick with ideas like that if they excite you, and get enough people excited about it to get on board. And now we're only a year and a half away from the second episode, because it's going to happen every 5 years, the 50-year show. So I have to start planning. I've got my little time capsule we put together on the night. I realise I haven't described what it is at all, so it makes no sense to anyone.
No, it's great. It's such a teaser answer for anyone not familiar.
But for those listening, it's a show that happens every 5 years. So we started it in 2008. It's as part of the Melbourne Fringe Festival, and I was hosting it. And basically, it's a whole bunch of sketches and segments with a different comedian looking after each one. So Adam Hills took out the crossword from the Australian newspaper that day and started to do the crossword with the audience. He had 5 minutes on the clock. And at the end of 5 minutes, I pulled the buzzer. He had to put it into the time capsule. He's going to come back next year and continue that same crossword. And he's got 50 years to try and finish it.
How's he looking?
He's looking pretty good. Okay. He got about 3 or 4 words, I think.
Oh,
it's not cryptic, so at least that's...
Oh, my God.
Dave Quirk is telling the 50-year joke, and so he just took ages to get... He was about to tell the punchline, then I interrupted him and said, your time's up, and that's going to happen every year until 2058, and we'll hear the punchline. Felicity Ward's doing the 50-year story. And my favourite part of the show, it's on YouTube if you want to put vision to this sort of rambling story I'm telling, if anyone's listening. But there's these 10 5-year-old dancers who we sourced. That sounds just horrid, but permission and all that, and parents were there. Yes,
I heard about this and I wondered about the permission.
And they all joined me on stage at the start for a little choreographed dance to Boom Boom Shake the Room, and their parents have agreed that they'll come back every 5 years and do the same routine with me, and then on the video behind them we're going to play them as their 5-year-old selves, and so this next year they'll be 10 years old and get to meet them again, do the same dance, and that's just going to keep on growing, and so by the end it'll be really creepy because I'll be 75 years old and they'll be 50 years old. So yeah, that's that show, and that's probably my specific little passion of mine. If everything else goes to crap, then at least I've got a gig booked every 5 years.
So in a tagline, starts off sweet, ends up creepy, just like the dancers?
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, good.
I like it.
what we have, every week on In Joke, we have our guests come in, and after lengthy discussion about their lives and their shows, we get that out of the way, and then we get to the real issues of which historical figure would you nuzzle or motorboat?
Oh. Now, I have never felt more old because I worry that these are some sort of sexual euphemisms that you're throwing my way that I don't necessarily understand.
Nuzzle
nuzzle is fine. But what's a motorboat? Oh, is that...
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, okay, great.
I'm trying to cut the motorboat out because it kind of it categorizes everyone by the gender. You know, sometimes you don't want to always motorboat a gentleman.
I see, yeah. And also because you want to sort of be able to... Now I want to nuzzle someone and motorboat someone else. It's a really... You have left me with so many options.
Well, take as you will.
Okay. Well, I would like to nuzzle into the ample bosom of Emma Bunton Baby Spice.
Oh, an apple.
Excellent choice.
I would put her as a historical figure. I mean, they rode those
Definitely.
Brit Awards for a couple of years and, smashed some records. And she's still alive, so it's actually achievable.
At the forefront of Cool Britannia. Yeah, she revolutionised the pop scene. Prince Harry had a picture of her in his school locker.
Precisely,
Yeah.
as did I around the same time, I believe. Hazzer and I should say. And motorboat. Gosh. Oh, no, that's inappropriate.
Feel free to be
No,
inappropriate.
no. I shouldn't motorboat Gough Whitlam.
Done,
at this
you just
particular
have.
stage. No, but I would like to perhaps a good old Labour stalwart, someone like a Ben Chifley from the 50s. Just
Yeah.
get down to Bathurst and just give him a big motorboat. Is that why you ask those questions? So you get those horrid little grabs from people that you can put out of context?
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. We've yet had Chifley though, so I think we had Margaret Thatcher is the closest political figure that we've had.
Wrong side of the tracks for me.
But no,
Yeah.
Chifley all the way. Sammy, Jay, thank you very much for joining us.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me.
And good luck with the show, and fingers crossed for bringing home some more awards this year.
Yes. Well, I mean, now you put pressure on us. I don't think we're necessarily eligible for any more awards because we can't be newcomers, and you can only get the Barry one. So I think we're a spent force.
Well, that's justification if it's crap and you don't win anything.
Yeah, no, there it is. No, we just need people. We're at the Forum, which is our biggest venue we've ever played. 400 seats a night, so just get along, please. And just tell your friends. I'm fucking desperate.